Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Looks like we're going to get some rain here for later Sunday into Monday, but at least we get to squeeze out one more decent day. And I want to start off with the NAM model today because it kind of shows what's happening. We've got this weather front that's to the west, and we'll draw on this so I can show you. So we have this cold front here that's approaching from the west, and that's going to creep slowly eastward. And right here we have what's left of Tropical Storm Julia, now a tropical depression. The actual low center has been drifting southward. Now we still have high pressure that's built in here into the eastern states. So that's kind of holding things dry today, getting a bit of an onshore flow. So it's also going to help to hold the temperatures down just a little bit. And then what happens is we start to see that front push forward. Now we're still into Saturday here, and we're gradually now getting into Sunday. Now Julia, in the meantime, still meandering there off the coast, very weak, probably a tropical depression. But by mid-morning on Sunday, we start to see showers occur north and west of New York City and Philadelphia through much of eastern Pennsylvania and into the Hudson Valley and up into New England. And gradually, as we go through the afternoon, that line of showers sinks southward, but probably not until late afternoon does it really reach the coast. Meanwhile, you can watch Julia down here, the remnants of it, or at least some tropical moisture, seems to try to get involved a little bit as it lifts northward. But there certainly is enough moisture around to bring some rain through here. And now the models are slower in moving the rain out, so it has rain well into Monday afternoon before it moves away to the northeast. And actually, the little remnant low of Julia is still there off the near the Virginia coast, even as we go into Tuesday, as it starts drifting back to the southwest. But I think the point for me is the fact that there's a chance here that we could get a decent amount of rain. Let's hope and pray that we do because of how dry conditions are. And I'll show you on the rainfall forecast. This is the NAMS view, by the way. I mean, it gives anywhere between a half an inch to an inch and a half through the period. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a lot more out of this, but you know what? If we've gotten so little rain in the last 6 weeks that we'll just take whatever we can get. And it is prolonged over a 12 to 18-hour period, which is good because at least it gets to soak in. But we need rain on the order of a foot or more just to get back even. Now, I'm going to now focus on the tropics because that's we've got tropical depression Julia, and you can see right here. Now, the low actual center, all these thunderstorms have been blowing away to the east, but it looks like the shear might have relaxed just a shade because we are seeing some thunderstorm tops develop near the circulation center. And it's happened a few times this year with tropical storms in this region that have tried to wind down and then suddenly fired up. Julia already did that once, so who knows? It's always possible that it could do it twice, but it would have to see the convection just kind of just collect around the center of circulation. A little too early in the day to come up with fancy words. But you can see it right here. It's also the center's been kind of drifting southward for the last 24 hours or so. So it's almost back over to 30 north. But the upper air conditions are not the most favorable for strengthening. Even if this were to come back as a minimal tropical storm, I wouldn't expect it to get much more than that. Now, on the wider view, you can see the front on the satellite to the west. You can see Julia down here offshore and this kind of long frontal boundary that exists out to the northeast. And then we have our cold front that is out over in the Great Lakes that's moving eastward. Now, in the wider view, you can pick out, here's Tropical Storm Carl as it kind of plods along on a course south of due west. And this is also having shearing issues with the strong southwest winds blowing the tops of thunderstorms away to the northeast. And it's probably going to remain in this hostile environment for a little while longer until it gets a little further west. This little south of due west track is important because as it loses latitude and gets further south, it may have implications for where it winds up once it gets north of the Leeward Islands, because eventually it's going to do something like this, where it turns west and then west-northwest. So if it gets further south, it may wind up finishing a little further south in this position. Those kind of things are important down the road. I still think that in the end, this is going to be a system that goes out to sea. And here's the tight view of Karl, and you can pick out, here's the circulation center right there. And let me just, I'm going to stop it right there so we can get a still shot. So here's your circulation center, okay? Here are your big thunderstorms, all, way to the north and east. And actually there is one little area of thunderstorms that has blossomed out near that circulation center. When you have these really strong tropical systems, the core of the circulation would be in the middle of the thunderstorm activity and not off to one side. So this is continuing to be a sheared system as it moves away to the west-southwest. Now, I just wanted real quick, we'll do some of the longer-term implications with regards to where this is going to wind up, or how this is going to wind up, because there is still some uncertainty. We'll look at the European, which is always fun to look at. It never really lifts Julia up, but you can see whatever Karl is, and now on the last two runs, it has it as just a tropical storm. It makes it to about 70 west, or maybe just shy of 70 west, before it makes a sharp right-hand turn. And the reason why, and the GFS does the same, the reason why it does that, and we'll look at the upper air, which is, again, the driving force here. The upper air is not conducive for a storm to move up the east coast. After 72 hours, you can see what happens with these westerly winds that are blowing from the Great Lakes to the northeast. They're still there, and here is Karl at its approach, which is on late Wednesday, but those westerlies actually strengthen as Karl approaches the coast. So you can see them right there. I think you'll see it better even on a wider view, which I'll go to here. We'll go to the wide view of the North Atlantic. And okay, so we've been talking for days about the fact that this upper ridge is going to close in the Atlantic and force Karl westward, which it does. So now here we are at 96 hours. Now we have another weakness that develops along the east coast here, and you can see it right there. So that would tend to bring Karl into that weakness. But we've got westerly winds across the Great Lakes and Northeast. We have a ridge of high pressure across the western and central Gulf states. So this is the alleyway. But the issue is that when we get into the next time frame, and I'll show you right there. Okay, here are your winds aloft. They're blowing pretty much west-north. They're pretty much blowing west to east. So any tropical system here is going to recurve into that weakness, like that. Okay, there's just no way you can really get this to come up the east coast. I mean, the only argument you can make is that if it stays far enough south of these westerlies where they don't interact with Karl, where it can just kind of meander for a little while, then you have a shot for it to get further west. But you know what? In the end, look what happens to the jet stream. Just over the next 2 days, we still wind up with even stronger west-northwest winds across the northeast and out over the open waters of the Atlantic. So with a setup like this, there's really no way that Karl could move up the east coast, not unless these westerlies are much further north. If this ridge is much stronger, that's something that might drive it further west. But right now, based on what I'm looking at, I don't see this as being a problem. So let's see what happens with regards to Julia, because I think Julia is really the short-term issue and the cold front approaching, and seeing how much, if any, rain we can squeeze out of that. Meanwhile, enjoy your Saturday, and don't forget SSStormchasing.com, meteorologist JoeChaffee.com, and WeatherLongIsland.com, and we're going to have a new one soon too, NYCWeatherNow.com. Have a great day.